The UN Human Rights Council has just issued a new report from their Commission of Inquiry blaming Israel for all kinds of problems in Palestinian society, many of which have absolutely nothing to do with Israel. Lack of elections, unemployment, and yes, even domestic violence. They really could have just summed up the report by saying, "We don't like Israel." But for me, the most ridiculous claim in this report is that Israel is sexually harassing and assaulting Palestinian women systematically without providing any concrete claims of such accusations. The vast majority of their sources link to other UN reports making the same claims without proof. In one case, their source was Adamir, a Palestinian NGO, which has been tied to PFLP terrorist organization. Now, certainly, there have been incidents of sexual harassment and even assault, but they are extremely rare. Even in reports about harassment, the accusations are often vague and difficult to categorize as assault or harassment. For example, one NGO claimed that there was a systemic problem of sexual harassment based on multiple testimonies in which the victims felt threatened or were uncomfortable. A woman shouldn't feel threatened because she's a woman, and Israel should provide a female guard or interrogator. But it's also important to note that in all of these cases, the victims weren't touched or spoken to inappropriately. Yet the UN is trying to paint a very different picture. I'm all for holding Israel accountable, especially in this area, but the UN portraying IDF soldiers as sexual predators has absolutely no basis in reality. This new UN report also claimed that gender-based violence was a core driver and motivator for the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. They also claimed that the occupation was the reason for domestic violence in the Palestinian territories and the reason that Palestinian women weren't more advanced within their society. Not, of course, a chauvinist society and a male-dominated culture which doesn't respect the rights and freedoms of women. So much so, in fact, that thousands of Palestinians in Hebron protested when the Palestinian government signed on to a UN treaty ensuring equality for women. Why? Because it violated Islamic principles. The situation for gender-based violence against Palestinian women is dire. 29% of Palestinian women have reported experiencing domestic violence in their life. Yet the Palestinian government has delayed passing a family protection law for over 10 years. Once again, the UN is giving a pass to the actual abusers and instead using this report to smear Israel for a completely unrelated issue. No. Ending the occupation is not the key to advancing the status of women in Palestinian society. Women's rights should never be politicized this way, and the UN Human Rights Council, of all bodies, should know better.